Raptors rookie Gradey Dick had his introductory press conference today where he had a lot of interesting quotes, including commenting on Fred VanVleet, the Raptors' new head coach, and some interesting comments involving Scottie Barnes that stirred up some drama on Twitter. So we'll dive into all that, including the Houston Rockets targeting our two top free agents and hiring of another coach. So lots of stuff to dive into in this video, but before we get into any of that, we have an exciting announcement as this video is brought to you by Rentals.ca. And Rentals.ca is the largest apartment hunting network across Canada. You can find listings in pretty well every single city across the country, including Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, pretty well everywhere, right? I'm in St. John's, you're in Victoria. They have rentals and listings for you. You can check out their website. It's clean, it's easy to use. You can see the map, the visualization that we have going up there on the screen, and they have the most listings for you guys to check out. So the most available options, and you can also probably see their billboards, their blue signs on lawns across your city, across your neighborhood. So if you're looking for an apartment, a condo, anything to rent, definitely check out Rentals.ca as they are the best place for you guys and they're supporting the channel. So check the link down below in the description and the pinned comment and check them out. It's a great place. But let's dive into the news as Gradey Dick, he came out today and spoke on Fred VanVleet, the Raptors' new coach, and a whole bunch of other topics. And the first thing I want to say about Gradey Dick is he's going to be a great guy to just follow over the course of his career in his tenure with the Toronto Raptors because he's got some good vibes, got some good energy. He started off the press conference saying that he's been really impressed with Toronto so far. And he talked about how beautiful the city was, how genuine the people are, and he continues to say this. He also mentioned this on the Raptor show with Will Lou, that he believes he's hit the jackpot, getting drafted by the Toronto Raptors. So a big topic of discussion amongst Raptors fans in recent weeks has been, having players that want to be in Toronto, right? Pascal Siakam's not signing anywhere else because he wants to be in TO. Gary Trent Jr. picked up his player option and said he wants to run it back with a new coach and a new sort of system. Loves the city of Toronto, so wants to say. So it's nice that we have players that want to be back here, especially with the new coaching staff that we have rolling, and they love the city. So hopefully the vibes, they'll be picked up now with the new look to sort of roster and Gradey Dick coming in here and providing the good vibes. But, he had some more comments, and this anecdote was pretty interesting, I found, in his presser, saying that Gradey Dick, who grew up in Wichita, said he's watched a lot of Fred VanVleet over the years. He's close to Fred VanVleet's college teammate Ron Baker, and he said he's met Fred a few times and even went to some of his camps as a kid. He said his dad has a Fred VanVleet poster hanging in their house. So the presser was a little bit strange because obviously Fred VanVleet isn't locked to be on the Toronto Raptors. He's turned down his player option. We'll discuss him later in this video. But he was asked about Fred, so there's a little bit of a relationship there as well. Gradey Dick and Fred VanVleet, growing up in Wichita, that sort of area. For people that don't know, Fred VanVleet, Ron Baker had that heroic sort of, I believe it was a Final Four run, but that run with the Wichita Shockers. So Fred's kind of a legend in that area, and it's funny that new Toronto Raptors, Fred, even though obviously I'm still young and stuff, Fred VanVleet feels like one of our younger guys, the understudy to Kyle Lowry, and now we already have players coming into the league looking up to Fred, who obviously had that remarkable NCAA run. It's hosting all these camps. It's now sort of the veteran with the Toronto Raptors, the leader of this team. But, we'll talk about whether or not Fred will be back to mentor Gradey Dick later in this vid. But, interesting anecdote, interesting connection there. And he also discussed Darko Rajakovic, the Toronto Raptors' new head coach, who we're all trying to get more details on, all trying to figure out, what sort of impact that he'll be able to have on this Toronto Raptors team. And basically, he said, I'm bringing up the wrong screenshots, left, right, and center, that his personality really suits me as a player. I can come in here and put in that work with him. It's really rare to have a head coach that'll put you through a personal workout, especially as a rookie or one of those not undrafted, a guy that hasn't been drafted to your team yet. And the knowledge, the different movements around the court, I didn't even think about ever. Right, I am him kind of picking the little things out and putting in different drills. It definitely helps my team. So Gradey Dick, he's already impressed with Darko Rajakovic. Rajakovic had that reputation in Memphis as a guy that could develop young players, and it seems like he's taking a really deep focus on immediately starting off. Gradey hasn't been on the team for more than 72 72 hours, and he's already working them out, running them through some stuff, getting them ready to do those personal workouts over the summer. So obviously, summer league training camp is still a few weeks away, but love to see that from Darko. Good vibes all around following this presser. But one thing he did mention did stir up some drama. Basically, talked about how Scottie Barnes was the guy that reached out to him, saying that Scottie was the only player that reached out. They had a prior relationship, battling over the years, hooping, it's younger players growing up through the system. And Raptors fans are getting a little dramatic out there on Twitter, at least from what I saw, saying that Scottie's the only guy that's reaching out. Why is this the case? Does it mean Fred VanVleet's a sure thing to go? Why isn't a guy like Pascal reaching out other guys on the roster? I think it's a bit dramatic. Sure, you might have players do that, more active, more outreaching and stuff on different teams. Maybe Kyle Lowry would have done it on the squad, people have brought up. But, Scottie Barnes seems to be the guy that's the vocal, or gonna emerge the vocal leader of this group. He had that prior relationship. Makes sense why Scottie Barnes would be the guy that initially reaches out to him. So I'm not reading too much into it. I don't think it's an actual indication that other players are gone. Pascal's getting traded. Fred VanVleet's going. Gotta stop all that dramatic nonsense. But cool to see that Scottie and Gradey, they're already building up a little bit of a relationship. And Gradey Dick also mentioned how he believes him and Scottie are going to be a dynamic duo. So lots of fun stuff happening there with this Raptors' newest rookie. How you guys feeling about the Gradey Dick pick? A few days now post NBA draft. But we also got some news regarding free agency in this video, as the Rockets are targeting multiple Raptor free agents. The two top free agents now at this point, with Gary Trent Jr. signing back to the squad, or at least picking up his player option. The Houston Rockets, they've been linked to Fred VanVleet the entire summer, but now they're after Fred and another Toronto Raptor. Basically, this news came out with a giant list of players that the Toronto Raptor or the Houston Rockets are interested in, and you can see Fred VanVleet at the top of that list, just behind James Harden, and down below, interestingly enough, Jakob Poeltl has somehow made it onto this list, which I find extremely interesting. Now, we've heard talks about Jakob Poeltl potentially not being a lock to come back to Toronto, as Gary Trent Jr. picked up his player option. And the Raptors, they can squeeze under the luxury tax threshold with bringing back Fred, bringing back Jakob Poeltl, but they're saying it's not a sure thing at this point. Pascal stays. I'd still put my money on Jakob Poeltl returning, but apparently the Houston Rockets, Houston Chronicle also did an article about Jakob Poeltl potentially being a guy that goes down to Houston, so there's a little bit more smoke to this fire that's going on between the Jakob Poeltl and the Houston Rockets. My money is still on him returning to the Toronto Raptors, despite the interest he's going to gain throughout the league, whether it's just from Houston or from other teams. But, the Fred VanVleet smoke is the one that I'd really be looking at in terms of, Houston landing him, as Bill Simmons also came out and basically said on his podcast that he predicts Fred VanVleet's going to the Rockets on a 4-year, $140 million contract. So that's that's a pretty big bag there for Fred VanVleet. You're getting your money's worth there from Fred, betting on himself, turning down that player option. And I don't know, the Toronto Raptors really have to make a tough decision whether or not to give Fred VanVleet that kind of bread. 4 years for Fred VanVleet at that point, $30+ million. It's tough, especially with the salary cap situation going on. I mean, we just saw the Atlanta Hawks, probably do a whole video on that tomorrow, sold away John Collins for a 2nd-round pick because they needed to get under that tax apron. It's going to be tough, right? The Raptors could be handcuffing themselves if they give Fred VanVleet all that money, especially if they bring back Jakob Poeltl on top of it. So the Rockets, they're interested, they're intrigued in both Poeltl and Fred VanVleet. We'll see what ends up happening on that front. My prediction is Jakob Poeltl will stay. I still have no clue what's going to happen to Fred VanVleet. So let me know your guys' predictions on that front in the comment section down below. Next thing we're taking a look at is the Raptors hiring a new coach. As basically, Darko Rajakovic, he's given the opportunity to completely revamp the sort of bench. Even Rico Hines, Jamal McGlure, people that we thought would stay after the Nick Nurse regime left, they're gone as well, even though Jamal McGlure is still within the organization. Rajakovic is out here sort of picking and choosing new coaching options, and news came out that a UCLA basketball assistant coach, Simovic, is finalizing a deal to become a Toronto Raptors assistant coach. He joins the staff with fellow Serbian Darko Rajakovic, who's worked with previously in Serbia and Spain. So, UCLA assistant from the brief little information that we've seen that's publicly available on him, seems like he's a pretty solid basketball scout. And the picture, people are roasting the picture, saying it looks like the black background and the look looks like he's been held captive or like a mugshot or something like that. So I figured I'd bring up the memes there. But no, seems like an interesting sort of hire. I feel like just from what I've been able to read about him, going to be more of a development sort of scouting coach, right? A guy that's going to be able to look, see where players need to improve, see what players are out there that we could potentially bring in and mesh their games to fit our system. So, cool hire there. It's nice to see that bench starting to get filled out. But the final thing we're discussing in this video is Boucher's market's going up. And basically, if people didn't see, there's a guy that's been linked to the Toronto Raptors for a pretty long time in Naz Reid that, he's a center, shoots threes, long arms, not as quick as Boucher, but got more strength, on that front. Basically, Naz Reid just signed a pretty substantial contract with the Minnesota Timberwolves, about $14 million per year. That's right around the range Chris Boucher is, and those type of centers, that's Jake Fisher sort of laid it out pretty clearly, that Naz Reid coming off the free agency board will have some ripple effects. Not sure exactly how wide-reaching, but Reid was seen as a premier backup spot start center on the market, similar to Isaiah Hartenstein last summer, was at the top of a few teams' list for that type of spot. So with him off the board, Chris Boucher is a guy that could certainly fill that spot. As a player that makes around the same type of money, can shoot the threes, can block shots, can play that center position. Boucher is a little bit smaller than Naz Reid, but Boucher, assuming we keep Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby, which signs seem to indicate that will be the case, Boucher's trade market could certainly be on the upswing. So definitely keep a lookout for that. Just a little minor tidbit wanted to throw at the end of this video. But folks, you guys are the best at making this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. And check out rentals.ca. Check out the link down below. If you're, looking for any rentals like that, they've been supporting the podcast big time. So anyways, shout out to all you guys making this far. I'm signing out. Cheers.